Pen to the ear. Is that a go home signal?
You hear that? Oh yeah. The voice is cracked, but coming back on Half Black Zack. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the host, the co-host of the show. It's another episode of the Going Over podcast. Paul, I think we're at 90 today, aren't we? This is number 90. Big
Number
90.
90.
And it's me. It is I, your neighborhood-friendly coach, trainer, promoter. And for just a few brief more days, till the 20th of October, 43-year-old professional wrestler, Zack Primetime Reeb. You can call me Mr. Boss Time because I'm the boss. Employees clock in, Zack's clocking out on your ass. And I'm joined alongside my podcast partner, as always, the 7-foot wrecking ball, Paul Isadora. Paul, what is up, Palio?
Oh, not much, man. We're just chilling, man. Just got the days, got some days switched over, so not working today. So just trying to get the honeydews done today. Grab the honeydews and get those knocked out and get ready, man. I got girls that want to watch WNBA action here at 5 p.m. So we've got an hour and 20 minutes. We had a good little buffer. So easy stuff, man. We'll knock this out. Talk about all the things that we need to talk about, and then get sitting on the couch and ready to flick the wrist.
I had a question for you too. Someone asked me today at one of the meetings, said, "Hey, did you hear about the helicopter that went down on 50? And they said that everybody survived and it didn't even hit a car. I guess it hit somebody. I don't know the details. I didn't look them up. And I made a comment that I wish that would have been the case with the Kobe Bryant helicopter, right? Tragedy, man. Kobe was just about to start doing some amazing things. But what was his daughter's name?
Gigi.
Now, my question to you is, how long ago did Kobe and that copter go down? How long ago was that death?
I don't know how many years, man. It's
been a while.
I would say it feels recent, but I'm sure, like, if you looked it up, it's probably been quite some time. But yeah, she was quite the prospect.
Do you feel we would have had another Bryant in the WNBA? If because that was a pretty dedicated girl, man. I remember how hard she was playing. Sad, but I was thinking about that today, and it's funny you mentioned the WNBA because I was like, man, would Gigi Bryant have been in the WNBA tearing it up like her dad Kobe, because she had that same killer instinct and Mamba mentality?
That's it, man, for sure. I think that's absolutely the case. She would have been. I'm super curious now when that actually happened, because you never know if she would have been would she have been the same class? So that was in 2020, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Born in 2006. So yeah, she would have been 19. So she would have been in college.
Yeah.
But you got to think she definitely would have been one of those people that you keep an eye on. I think about the girl from Juju Watkins from USC. She's a sophomore or was gonna be a junior this year. Somebody told me something about maybe she wasn't coming back to college. I know she tore ACL last year, so she probably would have been in that conversation of best college women's players, I'm sure, just with the work ethic that was instilled in her.
I was watching a documentary on Sue Bird, and then it turned around and I was watching the documentary on Diana Taurasi. And I was like, damn, those two were on the same team in the WNBA. You know what I mean? They might have been on the same team in college too, but it was a pretty good watch, man. WNBA is starting to really pop up, man. I'm wondering if we're ever going to see, women's softball. And here we are now where women's wrestling, I was watching Monday Night Raw, and women's wrestling was like, I think there was 3 different segments of matches in 2 hours, and 2 of them were back to back. It was like Becky Lynch and Maxine Dupree, which actually was a pretty good watch. And I believe it was Roxanne Perez and someone, and then it was another match. And it's like, women's wrestling is, and I'm not saying that it's, and I'm not saying there's not bad ones out there, but I'm not saying it's the greatest of all time, but it's definitely very, very popular across the globe right now.
Right. Well, I feel like that it kind of hit its stride, right? Everybody says the women's revolution when you had Bailey and Charlotte and Sasha Banks and whoever. Oh yeah, and of course the man. You think about all those girls, man, and just like how they were, main eventing and all these different things, and having stellar matches. You wonder if that had anything to do with them being in NXT and being able to put their matches together, and they spend a lot of time together because they're all in the same spot and training in the same place. Kind of the thing where you go, oh, 2 guys that train together. Like I felt like if I had a match with anybody that I trained with in Reno, it was probably going to be pretty damn good. And same thing with you. Like, if you having a match with Rick or one of the guys that you trained, you're probably going to have a pretty stellar match. On top of a good match that you would normally have, just based off of that chemistry you have by spending a lot of time together.
Yeah, well, I mean, it also comes into, like, I was explaining to Sparky yesterday. We were talking, and I was like, Dickie Dakin is my sparring partner. Like, if he's around, he's the first guy I'm grabbing. If I do get in the ring to show somebody something, if I do give an example or run something quick, I always run it with him. Next would be Arsonist. Next in line after that would be, Ethan Reno, and then Nash. And I'm just talking about guys that are at class. And it's like, one of my big pet peeves is my toes. From all the years of working with steel toe boots, from wearing wrestling boots, like my big toes have like blood underneath them. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not even like a bad fungus, it's blood. So my toes, if you step on them, I'm like Mike Tyson with Jake Paul. You step on my toes, I'm going to fuck you up. And like, I always think about all the guys that how I get their footwork better. And I don't give them footwork drills. I get in the ring with them and I tell them, you step on my toes, I'm going to fuck you up. One of the biggest offenders of stepping on my toes is this 18-year-old brand new prospects champion we have, Ethan Reno, because he's an amateur wrestler and he's really great and he has good footwork. He's just 280 fucking pounds. And he's heavy on his feet because he's a different style of amateur wrestler. So he's always stepping on my fucking toes, man. And he's just a big kid. He was hitting the ropes the other day at class, and I could have swore, Rick was at class, I could have swore we heard the poles cracking. Crack, crack. Just some big kids out there. I sat down the other day for the first time and I tried to watch on HBO Max because I have Prime Video, and realized that I could be watching all 2.5 to 3 hours, whatever Tony Khan decides in his sweet little head, of AEW Dynamite. So I sat down and I gave it a trial run. That's all I'm going to say. I'm never going to sit down and give it a trial run again. It was the worst watch ever. Just ever, man. Nothing makes sense. Nothing makes sense. Like, they just got random people and they throw them in random stupid matches, and they beat, like, they got the Hurt Syndicate, right? There's MVP, Bobby Lashley, and Shelton Benjamin, and they look like wrestlers. They look like wrestlers. And I mean, you got Edge and Christian out there, but then you also got FTR, and they just, for some reason, refuse to put men wrestling men. They refuse, Paul. They fucking refuse to do it. And it makes me go, you know what? Don't make me break out the tape. WrestleMania 3. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat versus the Macho Man. I would love to see Dave Meltzer. Like, I don't even know if he did it back then. I'd love to do another review with Meltzer and a women's match from Dynamite compared to Steamboat Macho in front of 93. It's like Meltzer's like, Steamboat Macho get a 4 stars. Mercedes Monet and Cagney Carter or whatever her name is, 6.5. 6.5. It was intriguing. It was intriguing action to watch.
Oh shit!
What's going on?
I don't know, man. I think I don't know. We kind of grew up on that era where it was, the women's wrestling, midget wrestling, battle royals. Those were all like novelty things that you'd see it on a poster, and it's like, oh, it's intriguing. It's something different. You don't get to see it all the time. So we're used to something a little bit different from growing up and watching wrestling as a kid, as a fan, versus the way that it is now. But you'd like to see like those, like I was talking about, those when the 4 girls were main eventing the NXT pay-per-views. And I felt like those matches were really good and told a good story, and you could get into them and things like that. So it is sad to hear that you're just disappointed with the action that you're seeing. Although you just commented on WWE, and there was several segments that had women's matches. So
and there was a lot of good stuff. Like, I think the WWE women's roster is incredible. I think they're incredible, but I'm also biased because it's not that I don't like high flying. Obviously, I've did it for many years, and it's not that I don't like matches that have spots in it. I'm just a proponent of characters, conflicts, long stories that pan out. I like upsets, man. I like to see matchups where the potential upset is there. When the 1-2-3 kid, or if he was, he wasn't the 1-2-3 kid. He was the Lightning Kid in the Manhattan Center when he caught Razor Ramon with that moonsault. And the way they sold that too. He knocked him out. He clipped him with his leg on the way down and knocked out Razor. And by the time Razor heard the 2 count and came to, he started shaking around, and then he tried to kick out and he lost. And I feel like that's a lost art. I feel like the art of 2 things. I feel like the art of kicking out, I'm out for a second. 1, I wake up on the count. 2, oh crap, 3, and I tried to kick out, and I'm back up on my feet, but I lost. I think that art is gone, which saves heels a lot and keeps them their heat. And another art that's gone is, can we just fucking tap out already? Like Brett versus Perfect at SummerSlam. I've seen it a few times, and I like it. I think there's a place and a time and the right combination of people you're trying to get over to dig out a long. It's like, dude, am I really supposed to care about Ric Flair's figure 4 once he got to the WWE? Because anybody could sit in that motherfucker and not tap out. Anybody. The move doesn't matter anymore. I like to see when the submission gets on right away. Even if you're higher up in the card, right away. Oh, it's on me. Yeah, I'm done. Or tapping out right away before it even gets fully locked in on you, because the heel wants to live to fight another day, right?
Absolutely. Well, this reminds me of a conversation that we had with the sleeper hold, the rear naked choke with Gunther and Uso, and you were telling me how he kicked out or he tapped out too quick, right? So and I made the comment like, hey, it makes it look like it's more devastating if you tap out quickly, right? Because I'm in danger. I want to live another day, so I'm going to tap out, right? So just like you're saying,
Yep.
I think there's definitely an art to that. And I remember it was 2010, man. I remember it vividly, going to a wrestling. We were on a wrestling show here in town, a bunch of us guys, and I just remember they had a battle royal at the end of the night, and it was a bunch of brand new guys and just guys that had been training for weeks, I'm sure. And I wanted to go and sit down at this wrestling school and explain to these guys, like, this is the height of that era where you'd have a UFC pay-per-view on a Saturday night, and then you'd have a WWE pay-per-view on a Sunday night. And it's like, you have people that are actively looking for ways that they can go, see, I told you wrestling's fake, right? Because just like what you're saying, you see a guy get tapped out the night before on a UFC pay-per-view with whatever the hold is, if it's a rear naked choke, if it's, a Kimura, whatever it is, some sort of submission hold. And then you see the next night on a WWE pay-per-view, the exact same hold, and the guy's in it for 90 seconds, 2 minutes before he finally weasels his way out of it or whatever, and it's like, so the believability is constantly in question. So, I mean, just to your point, it's like, does it really matter if this guy sinks in his submission hold, if everyone is going to fight out of it for a couple minutes, like the Ric Flair thing, like if they're gonna, the whole like, I'm gonna roll over, right? But it takes you 2 minutes to do it. It's like, is it really a submission hold? Is it really something that's gonna break your leg, or all these different things? So definitely, that definitely is one of those things that irritates you, because you're like, and it's just, I mean, it's like that about all of the, wrestling nowadays, right? You talk about, back in the day where when someone would go, hey man, you mind if I use the super kick? And you'd like, is it your finish? No? Yeah, fuck yeah, then go ahead, have at it. If you're not going to beat someone with it, obviously it's not as good as mine, because I'm going to beat someone with it.
Well, that submission thing, I did too. I said, man, he tapped too early, and then you brought up that point, and it was such a good point that I go, this ain't a jobber he's wrestling. So I'm like, I'm wrong, and then now I can't unsee it. You know what I mean? Like I fucking can't unsee this now. When I go back and I think about everything, and I'm watching everybody fighting a submission, and I'm like, nah, man, just get him over. You're the bad guy. It's okay to do this. If you're the bad guy and your gimmick is I'll never tap out, and you don't ever tap out, then that's terrible. It's terrible. It's like, excuse me, we got to get these guys over. I was talking to Ugly, and he was talking about a match he was watching with two young guys, and one guy was the submission specialist and the chain wrestler, and the other guy was the high flyer, but was just countering out of everything the chain wrestler was doing. And I told Ugly, I said, you know what? I've wrestled Rick 100 times, a bunch of different companies everywhere. And you know what I've never done? I've never out wrestled Rick. Like, I've accommodated when he's giving me 25, 50%. I've countered holds with the struggle. I've innovated high speed. I've done all this other stuff. I've beaten him, but I've never out wrestled him as a wrestler in any case. And when I'm a babyface and he's a heel, he's never beaten me fair and square. And we've maintained this over all these years. And for me, that's what was really cool about that last match we had, was we prided ourselves on not choreographing, right? Like not knowing what we're going to do except for the finish. And this time I took a page out of the great Vince DeMarco's book where he said, if you know how to work, you can choreograph. Because me and Rick fucking plotted that whole thing out from start to finish. And I'm glad we did, because I had bronchitis for, even when I went down to your show, which it worked out. I was afraid to get in there one-on-one with the Cole Wright kid, because I was like, the elevation, thin air. I was like, man, I'm gonna die. I'm at the peak of this. And I even prayed before the match, and I was really worried. I was like, dude. But then I stepped outside and I saw my opponent and the referee smoking a Marlboro, a Marlboro Red Short. And I looked over at them both. And I'm like, oh, this is cake, bro. This is gonna be a cake night right here. And because it had a plot and where we were going, it wasn't like it was wrestled as a match that we knew where it was going, because we know how to sell. We know how to give and take here when we hear stuff. And I think a lot of guys and girls haven't learned how to work. And what I mean by that is they haven't learned how to get out there and just listen to the audience and call it out. So I think if guys have a good ear for the business nowadays, they're doing what me and Rick did, because we kind of went new school with it, where they're like, okay, we know where we're going, but we're hearing the crowd, so we're going to not just go to the next move.
Right, exactly. And I think that's what it is. And we're trying to get people to understand about that fact, right? About trying to get out there and listen to the crowd, because you don't necessarily know what they're going to want. If you're choreographing it, you don't know what this crowd is going to necessarily cheer for, or what they're going to react to. So being able to do a little bit of both is definitely a huge advantage. You have an idea of where this match is going, but if you can kind of pivot on the fly and make some changes, that's going to make you that much better of a pro wrestler if you're able to do those things.
It is, I feel, but I also feel like even if what you're doing, start to finish, I feel like if you know how to work, like Venice said, it's okay to choreograph. I think the choreography looks bad when the guys are just focused on the choreography, and you can tell it's fake and phony, because it's like when you came in and spun me around and started punching me. I knew from the sound of the audience, I knew what we were doing, but nobody had to tell me after you booted me. I listened to the audience and I was like, okay, I need to, I felt how long I had to sell it. You know what I mean? So it was stumbling around, and I knew when the time was that I needed to feed back into you for it. I knew I was doing it. I knew it was happening, but it's when is the right time? We were talking about the hot tag, right? Because I think Zack Bay missed the hot tag in the 6-man at the show. And I'm like, well, we didn't make Maple or anybody hip to say, hey, you gotta turn around and tell them now. And I was talking with Rick, and I was telling Bay about it outside. And I said, the baby face has to come in first, because the bad guy is always on his heels. And Rick goes, oh my God, did you hear what he said? And he said, that's why we call them heels, because they're always backpedaling. They're always on their heels. They're always a step behind. That's why they get out wrestled. That's why they're heels. And baby faces came from, clean shaven, the baby face, but it's actually face, because you're the face of the company. You're that guy that they want to put his face on everything. But it's during the hot tag, even if it's bang bang, the baby has to get tagged in first. So the heel getting tagged in is a step behind. Even if he backpedals when he comes in, because he's a step up, but he's not at the same pace as the baby face. Like, the heel is always backpedaling. And you always have to remember that at the end of the day, the heel is going to put over the baby face. Even if it's not that baby face. If you got a champion and the heel gets the belt, it doesn't mean he's going to put this champion, the former champion, back over on him. It means that somewhere down the line, there's a new baby face who is going to overcome and get over on the heel. The heel should never, in the end, to come out on top, whether it's one night or whether it's 10 years. That heel is going to have to be on his heels, and he's going to have to slip on the proverbial banana peel one day.
That's right. Lee Perfetto.
Yeah, bad banana.
The bad banana, slipping on the banana peel. Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's just, understanding that. I think that you have so many people that are, they want to be the cool heel, right? They don't want to be the guy that's going to look foolish and things like that. And I was having that conversation with Cole Wright, right? I was like, Zack, really enjoyed working with you, man. It was like, he's whatever the verbiage was when he rolled out of the ring, he's like massaged my back or whatever it was. He's just like, you got to look like this. Oh, the other man is rubbing my back, and like I'm just looking foolish and stuff like that. It's like, most people don't want to do that, right? They don't want to go in there and look foolish. I know Adam Thornstowe would always say, don't be afraid to show your ass. Come in the ring, trip on the rope or whatever, or how much easier it is to be a heel because, if you do that, if you slip on the water, if you trip, falling into the ring, whatever, you look foolish and you're supposed to do that, but you can't do that as a baby face, right? Because everything's supposed to look crisp and clean and things like that. So, but I think that you have those people that are just there. They don't want that. Maybe they think it's some sort of negative attention. Oh, if I'm the heel, the people are going to hate me and they're going to make fun of me if I fall down or if I dress silly, my pants pulled up to my nipples or whatever. Like, the things that you're intentionally trying to do to look silly and foolish to get that reaction from the fans. A lot of people, they just don't want that. They want to be liked.
Well, I remember so back in the day, I'd always been a babyface from the time I started all the way into APW. And I remember when Caesar Black, that was his name right back in the day.
Yeah.
Caesar Black and Steve-O came up to me in the APW locker room, Jim Moore's locker room. And we're like, hey, man, we want to start up this thing called Fog City. We got a venue. Can you sit down with us and grab some food or whatever and give us the blueprint of PCW? And I was like, sure. And I remember when I went down there, it was me and Black Pearl. It was me and Reno. And for the first two shows, big crowds, but they weren't digging me as a baby face. It's San Francisco, man. They loved their Samoans, and they loved him. He was supposed to be the heel. So I went up and I said, hey, Reno, man. I said, hey, this ain't working. We got to break it away. And I remember when I came up with Pink Mink Inc., it was a thing that I had just got Rick in APW because Roland hated Rick, right? Just absolutely despised him. It took me a year to something that happened to BTW, man. And I remember telling him, Caesar Black, I said, hey, I want to be a bad guy and I want to do a tag team. And he said, with who? And I said, with my buddy right here. And I said, I want a manager. And Marcus was doing the interviews at APW. I said, he's got a mink coat and he's got a Halliburton briefcase. Mac was like, yeah. I said, I want to wear Rick's gear. I want to wear the boas and the glasses and all that. And when we created that team, Pink Mink Inc., late night primetime at Fog City, I mean, we would beat up Todd Bridges at the start of the show from, what was he from? What
from
TV show?
Different Strokes.
Different Strokes. We'd beat up Todd Bridges, right? And then Todd Bridges would come back later with like Dylan Drake or somebody in the main event and make us look foolish or something like that. And, Jekyll's and Larry Blackwell, the Los Luchos, Savio Vega and Hernandez, whoever it was for like a year and a half to 2 years there, we were the most We were one of the most over things going on in the Bay Area, and we were just showing our ass, man. We were just showing our ass night after night. I think we faced a Commando, a bunch of teams, man, and we would win, but we would win by cheating and then get the shit beat out of us at the end of the night. And that was the funnest time of my life, teaming with my best friend and teaming with Marcus Mack, because Mack knew wrestling, but it was his first time being involved as a manager out there. And like that dude just fucking gobbled that shit up, man. Like it got to the point with that Pink Mink Ink thing where like we had Dave Dutra and Matt Carlos go get some matching gear, and we wrestled you. No, it was me, you, and maybe AJ Kirsch versus Rick and Pink Mink Ink at the roller skating rink in Chico one time in a 6-man. Right. So I was like, I couldn't be the heel in my company. So Matt came over with Rick, and then Dave Dutra and Matt Carlos got matching gear and were Team Luxury. And man, those guys they ran that gimmick for a long time, dude. I pulled myself out of this thing a long time ago, and it was so cool to watch that gimmick because it had so much heat behind it for so many years. Because these are just heels. They were cool, but they always ended up getting fucking. They always ended up like embarrassing themselves at the end. I remember that. That was my first time being heel, and that's when I realized, like, man, this shit's easy. It's fun. All I got to be able to do is throw good heat and take a couple good bumps in the hot tag.
There it is, man. So, and obviously, the guy that's that position nowadays is Sergio Santana. You know, he's that guy, man. He does not give a shit about being liked. He just wants to come out and get a reaction, and you know, I love I mean, it's such a little subtle thing, and it sounds like you're puffing up your chest, and you know, when you're screaming at the security guards to, hey, that person's booing me, kick them out of the building, all that stuff. Just, you know, it's just those little things that we talk about that the heel does, right? It's not cheating. It's just like this whining, and you're getting frustrated because the fans are booing you. So you're gonna tell the security guards that they have to kick that person out because they're not treating you the way that you need to be treated. You know, especially now that he's the champ, you know, he's got this, you know, extra, you know, reason that he can view himself as something special. You know, I'm the champion, and I've got this belt, and you better respect me, even if you don't like me, and all this different stuff. So, you know, you think about that as the heel, and you know, we talked about that match going, you know, the whole segment going a half hour, right? And a lot of that was just him standing on the outside of the ring, just like he was in fear of his life, right? I refuse to get in the ring with this guy because this guy's going to kick my ass. And then at one point he said, it's an open challenge, but it was meant for anybody except for Propane, right? Yeah. So just, you know, changing the rules on the fly, and you know, making excuses for, you know, I'll wrestle anyone, well, except for this one guy, the guy that just happens to be coming out. So I don't know, just, you know, being that you know, we think about the babyface having the sympathy, and the heel getting all this heat like that. So you know, being the guy that's willing to raise his hand and say, I want to be that guy that the fans hate, or the fans are going to boo, or they talk shit to, or whatever it is. But I think it was evident from the first thing that you got from that guy, the 5-minute squash match, you know, that he's getting beaten at pro wrestling in Hollywood, you know, that whole thing. And then, you know, raising his hand, I'm like, hey, I want to be the guy that's you know, that's got in the battle royal for the shortest amount of time. Yeah, you know, it's like it's those things, right? The things that fans are going to look at you and make fun of, like, oh, you just got beaten 3 minutes, or you got eliminated the quickest, and all these things, right? You want to have those things. You thrive getting those type of things. So, having the heel be that guy that has no fear of being ridiculed or made fun of or anything like that is exactly what you're looking for.
Well, that's what makes the baby faces, man. Right now we got good heels. So in turn, if you have good heels with good character, with good storylines, you're gonna have a lot of strong baby faces. Like when companies go, "Oh, you got too many heels," or "Oh, you got too many, you don't have enough baby faces," which they both mean the same, right?
Of
I got too
course.
many heels, so I don't got enough baby faces. But it's like you don't have enough baby faces because your too many heels aren't getting your baby faces over. You want more heels than baby faces. I hate to be the bearer of bad news here because when somebody says you have too many heels and not enough baby faces, that's what you want. But you want the too many heels to give you 4 or 5 really good baby faces that can draw some fucking money and some houses for your shows. So when they're looking at it going, you got 10 heels and only 5 baby faces. Well, none of your baby faces are hot. And none of your heels are doing a good job getting them over. You know, like down there in Reno, we've been able to create. Now you're back as a baby face. Jeffrey Excellence got over as a baby face. Illumide got over as a baby face. Cole added to being a heel when we thought he was going to be a baby face because of the change we made. And now Blacklight gets over as a baby face. Scotty Ringer's a heel, working the way he worked with Ethan Reno and pulling out the victory did. Now you got another solid undercard, mid-card heel, and now you're elevating a young baby face. And guys don't get that. They're like, I want to have the best wrestling matches on the show. Cool, dude. If you want to have the best wrestling match on the show, then go take 2 good athletic wrestlers that are heel and baby and put some time and develop a good story and a good rivalry. And when they finally get to where they need to go, you can have that big match. And you can have multiple ones of those matches is what I don't get, because it's like you can have the one where the heel wins the belt. And then you can come back and have another good match in the rematch if the fans want to see it, but the baby don't get the belt there. And then you have the final third match 6-9 months down the road, a year if you can get out of it or more. And the baby finally goes up when the audience is ready and the place goes crazy. And then now that baby face needs another heel lined up. There needs to be another antagonist, a hot one coming up the card to do business with. And the heel that just did the business with this guy over here, he heads on over to do some business with the next guy that you want to see get up the card to replace that baby face down the road. And that's really how you build this shit. You go, all right now we got the Unwanted as tag team champions. Okay. We need some babyface teams. Okay, there's Buck and Bay. We had Xavier and Brick. And there's a all day crew that are running around now with Leon and Kuza. What else do we got? There's the Gator Boys. Okay, well, if I book the Gator Boys, I'm gonna book in that sense. If I was to take those teams in those scenarios, I'm gonna book 3 babyface teams. I got heel champions. I'm gonna book 3 babyface teams. And I'm gonna book 1 extra heel team. That way, that 1 extra heel team can start working and feeding the other 2 baby teams down here to start building them up to get some heat until a babyface champion comes. When the babyface tag team champions, let's just say All Day Crew, let's just say they become the new tag team champions and beat the Unwanted. Now you've been putting the Gator Boys or Chase Jackson and Preston Price over as these heels. Now you got a heel, and then you keep a babyface team, and then you bring in a couple more heels so that heels can start challenging the babyface team while you're building another babyface team with the other heel tag teams, and you just keep doing it. It's just this endless cycle of cycling these guys out, man. And And then if these guys get over, amazing, right?
Of course. And then obviously there's always competition of who gets to move up the crowd or up the card, and it's always, I always feel like that you make it sound like it's competition storyline wise, but it's also the competition within the locker room as well, right? To challenge these other guys, like, hey, I'm going to go out and I'm going to have a really good match. It's going to help everybody else step up their game as well, right? If you see other teams having good matches out there, that it puts a little bit of pressure on you to have a good match as well, right? Watch what they're doing. What are they doing well? Things that are helping them get over. And hopefully that leads to asking questions, right? How are these guys doing it? What makes their matches so hot? What makes for a good heel team? What makes for a good babyface team? And hopefully it's this, I don't want to say vicious cycle because it's not a vicious cycle, but it's definitely something where you continue getting people that are hungry and trying to become the best, right? Well, I'm going to give this team a really good match because here's what we're bringing to the table. So I think those things are always really good. You get that competition within the locker room. They always say iron sharpens iron, right? You're having good matches with good teams, and you can kind of cycle those through, and different people are challenging, for the championships and things like that. That's just an opportunity to maybe sneak your way in there, right? It's like, oh, well, this is the kind of the main storyline. These guys are working together, but when we get our opportunity to work the champs or to work one of these other teams, we're going to showcase ourselves, and maybe we're going to help ourselves move up the card organically. So that's definitely something that I think about, like, younger on in my career. That was the thing. You see other people having great matches, and it just, you instinctively go, I've got pressure on me now to step up my game and become a better worker and find out, the things that are going to help me move up the card. So definitely things to focus on when you're thinking about not just storyline stuff, but things that are in real life, working on your game, essentially.
One thing that I always realized is, like, I ended up being in the main event a lot. It was my willingness to wrestle the bigger guys when nobody wanted to. It was also the competitiveness, and that I was able to. I had a personality and could talk. I mean, there's all kinds of things why you're there, but I never asked to be in the main event because I didn't want to fucking be in the main event. I didn't want to. One thing I've learned about wrestling is by the time intermission hits, I mean, 9 times out of 10, you're gonna lose a chunk of audience. You're just gonna, you gotta really, like, Propane went first. I was very surprised that all the kids from the football team hung around the rest of the night, because usually if you throw Propane out there early, they're gone, and we were keeping Maple till after intermission because a lot of people come to watch Maple, and I wanted them to still be around at the end of the night. And it's like, I was talking the other day, I was talking to, I believe it was Rick. I said, we need to take the Unwanted and Annabelle and put them in a 6-man tag with Propane, Manny Roa, and Maple Gramps. Because those are the three of the most popular people from Moorville. And fuck it, give them the main event for this night. You know what I mean? Put the title match on right after intermission, semi-main, because all those fans are going to stick around all night long in droves, man, to watch these 3 teaming up for the first time in a special 6-man tag. And then you just put them on last. And the anticipation all night from this crowd to get there, Big compliment. The Mitch Valentine came to the show, was on his best behavior. I'd like to give Mitch a shout out on the show in a good way for the first time. A lot of changes made in that guy. And he called me the next day, and he had critique. And I heard his critique. He's like, the guys everyone needs to get in better shape. I was like, all right, cool. And he had some good critique, but he said, show was booked well, the flow of it was great, and he had a lot of positive feedback and comments, and it was nice to hear excitement in his voice and not aimless negative bitching. You know what I mean? So, I mean, you were there. So it's always nice to see guys change their life around, man, and come back around and have a better attitude, because a lot of guys don't ever do that, man. Even if they get older and grow up, they don't do that. So, I mean, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Jesse Mitchell, man, because I've known him since he was 17, and here lately, it's been a pleasure talking to someone and seeing some of the changes that they're making. So big holla up to you, player. Now go, as Teddy Long would say, you know what, player? Tonight on SmackDown, it's gonna be you versus the Undertaker.
I saw he was taking a lot of photos. Just, I mean, to kind of reiterate what you're saying, it looked like he was enjoying himself. A lot of smiles on his face, and taking photos and videos and stuff like that. So that was cool to see. You know, and you could tell like he was proud of some of the guys that were there.
Yes.
You know, that he had crossed paths with, or things like that. So it's always cool, man. Y'all are worked with, absolutely.
We did a lot of work with guys, man. It's
right.
You know, it's always nice to see this, because we get so many people in the business that we work around these people so much in the industry for so long, and then we start bickering and fighting. You know what I mean? We start bickering and fighting with each other over dumb shit too.
Right.
Like I've seen you get in arguments with guys that you're really close to that could end a friendship, and it's like, we're not making a living doing this. Why are we fighting with each other over this? I get we're passionate about it, but it's like this
Right.
is why our friendship ends, because of fucking 100 fans in a building. You know, it's like, what the fuck?
Exactly. Yeah. It's unfortunate, man, and it's just one of those things. Like, it is. I have told my daughters 1,000 times probably that having a relationship is difficult, right? So it doesn't matter. You know, I say having a relationship. That doesn't matter if it's your boyfriend, girlfriend, wife, husband, your best friend, your teacher, you know, a teammate, whatever, man. It is difficult. It is a lot of sacrifice, a lot of give and take. You know, there's a lot of things that go into trust. Absolutely, man.
Quick one for you, real quick. Sorry to interrupt you, but a quick one for you, because I know it's the same for Rick. In relationships, there's got to be your own space. You know what I mean? Even if you're married and you got kids and stuff, how much of being able and having that support from your wife and your family, how much being able to go out there and go on the road and have that time to yourself away from this that's had to have been a big part in like having a successful run at wrestling and having a successful marriage. You know what I mean? It's
absolutely, you know, it's like you have your own things that you do together, right? I do things with my friends. A lot of times it's wrestling stuff. I don't have a lot of friends that I go hang out with, anything like that. It's pro wrestling. It is, you know, I used to play city league basketball, things like that, or kickball or softball or whatever. You know, and that's your opportunity to get your own time, right? And my wife has her own stuff. You know, she used to run marathons, and you know, she gets up and she has her time on the Peloton in the mornings. You know, that's her, you know, 90 minutes of just, you know, in the zone by yourself, doing your own thing, you know. So it's, you know, obviously that's the things that it takes, man. You got to have a little bit of that. You got to have a little bit of space. There's got to be a lot of compromise that happens, you know. So it's just, but it's the same way in the pro wrestling business, man. We sometimes we are around each other so much, man, and it's like, just like anything, man. You get around someone enough, they're gonna start annoying you. Just little things, right? Little stuff is gonna be like, why do you always say that? Why do you do that? Like, you know, different things like that, where you're just like, man, I wish this guy would, you know, figure it out or whatever it is. You know, it's just, you know, you spend so much time with people, they start getting on your nerves, regardless if it's something that irritated you from day one or if it's something that over time has worn on you and starts irritating you. It's definitely one of those deals, man. And that's just real life leaking into pro wrestling, where those things are important. Understanding boundaries. I mean, I know you and I have talked about that with setting boundaries with people, right? Hey, this is you could talk about this to me in a serious light, but don't joke about it, or whatever it is. Different situations that we've had, coworkers, people that we are on shows with, things like that. Is setting those boundaries is super important. That way, you're not pissing people off, and people aren't pissing you off, and things like that. But obviously, we need to be clear about the boundaries, right? This is what you're doing that pisses me off, and you tell me the same type of thing. So, but that's where that compromise comes in, right? I see your side of the story, you see my side of the story. We're going to try to accommodate each other and make everything work for the best.
I always laugh about like this last show where we are like, yeah, of course we annoy each other. You came in the ring and punched me twice and booted me in the face and had your hand around my throat. Then I hit you with the steel chair. And it's like, but that character, that Zack Reeb character and that Big Paul character at your show, like we probably wouldn't be, definitely, I'd say 100%, we 100% wouldn't be doing this podcast or talking to each other all the time if that character that shows up in the ring at your show was the guy you dealt with every day.
Right, exactly.
Who would want to deal with that guy? You know what I mean?
That is absolutely correct.
And that's what I would always tell Mitch. He would always say, I'm the greatest heel in wrestling. And I really thought in my head, like, well, if you could honestly take your character and keep it on the show curtain to curtain, and then when you went through the curtain and practice and everywhere else, you were this really humble guy, maybe you could have been. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a statement that you look at because of all the bad pub on the guy, and you go, oh, fuck that guy. That guy sucked. And I'm like, no, he didn't. He didn't suck. He was a good worker, man. Like, he was solid in the ring. He was good. He trained hard. He could talk. He had a character. I liked working with him, and I know a lot of other people did, but you get to the point where you're like, oh, the guy's at that time, he was such an asshole and talked so much shit and did so much stuff that was like unforgivable at a young age that it ruins who you are. It's like, where does someone like these different characters and cast of guys go? Like my coach, if he gets in the business and he's just right as rain all the way through, where does he go in his career? There's a lot of what ifs I'd like to go back. I think we should have an episode called What Ifs and bring up names and go, what if this guy wasn't a complete douchebag? What if this would have happened? You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. There's definitely those guys that, and I'll probably put myself in the category, man. I think about like a lot of ifs in my story as well. So, yeah, that's obviously a really, really intriguing, interesting idea to talk about. You think about all the different people who thought could have been something special or could have been more special than they are if circumstances were different. There's definitely a lot of situations like that for sure, which would make for a very interesting, intriguing episode and something a lot of people would enjoy watching or listening to.
What if Big Paul would have made it just as far as AJ Kirsch and Tough Enough? What would Stone Cold Steve Austin have told Big Paul in that moment? Paul, you'd make a hell of a gutter cleaner because you're so goddamn tall. Stone Cold could be out there drunk away from the house, and old Paul comes over and just cleans my fucking gutters out without a ladder. AJ, you're a real nice guy. I bet you'd mow my fucking grass and suck on old Stone Cold's 3.1 inches, 1/6 inches of his Texas rattlesnake while I spit some venom down you. Ladies and gentlemen, 5 minutes remain in this podcast. 5 minutes. You've been blurry for the last 4, Paul. Are you blurry on your end?
I'm not blurry on my end, but I definitely see that the signal is not very strong. So
Good.
I don't know what to do about that, but
that means it'll work.
It'll work as long as you're on there. It's I think it's all good, man.
There we are. Remember when we couldn't hear Sparky that one time?
Right.
Remember the battle with one of the Ballard brothers? Like, I thought he was fucking with us.
Like, oh no. It was like just driving around. Hey, I'm just trying to find some better reception over here. Santa Monica Boulevard.
Jesus.
Oh, it's good stuff. Yeah, so
the cup. The cup and the fame's coming, Paul. The cup and the fame.
That's it, man. Yeah, so man,
bringing it.
It's exciting, man. You got something exciting going on this weekend, right? Are you at a baseball stadium again?
Stockton Ports, and hopefully I'm going to be in that mascot outfit the entire day. I think there's a fan and an air conditioner. Hopefully Zack Reeb is Splash, and I get to on camera fuck with Doc Haywood all day, and I get to go around doing this, handing out flyers to all the beautiful young ladies of Stockton. 209, baby. Stockton, what's up? Nick Diaz, 209, Stockton. Slap me in the face, motherfucker.
It's good stuff, man. So you got that one. We got our first time ever in Yarrington, Nevada. Old lawman Larry's territory. Larry said that we might get to bunk up that night. He said we're both spending the night. I say, oh, all right.
It's an old ass slumber party.
That's right, man. I said you got to make sure you're not going pole to pole or hole to hole, right?
I'm bringing my own sheets.
Oh,
because I know how many men Larry has wrestled on that bed for the circus middleweight championship. There's a zombie crawl. There's a zombie crawl in Reno that day too.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, there's a big zombie crawl.
Big old zombie crawl. Good stuff, man. I feel like those crawls have been something that has taken over, man. I feel like you see zombie crawl, you see Halloween crawl, Santa crawl, you see all types of stuff. Every holiday has one.
The old pub crawl. I remember one night my buddy got too drunk. I was drunk too, but he couldn't get up. And we made him crawl all the way to his bed, and we videotaped him. It was a long crawl too. He's like, "Help me!" We're like, "Get in your bed!" And he's crawling like a dog. And then he like passed out in the bed. You know, that's one thing that I'm just so glad about, man. I'm so glad that through everything, I'm never gonna feel like that again. And I can say that honestly, like. I can say I'll never feel like that again. Now, I can't tell you how I'm going to feel after a night of sleeping at the lawman's house. That's for sure. And as a matter of fact, if we're going to sleep at the lawman's house, I'm pretty sure there's going to be a live podcast from Yarrington, Nevada on Sunday morning.
Probably not, because I will be going to work.
You got to work on Sunday? We got 1 minute left here, everybody. We're going to be in Yarrington, Nevada. The Hall of Fame is coming up. And that is my new favorite drink by 7-Up during the summer. It's called Come In Up. A good old crack it open, taste that beautifully caffeinated ice cold sperm from the makers of 7-Up and Coca-Cola Classic. Get you a little bit of everything that you need.
The commercial on the fly. Nothing Nothing gets better than that, man. So we got about 10 seconds here. Why don't you just go ahead and close her out, bud?
Ladies and gentlemen, the following podcast was scheduled for 1 hour. Ding, ding, ding. Why is this one over? Because we're going over. Hit that subscribe button.